Welcome to the Paradise Paradox. My name's Kurt Robinson and I'm presenting this fantastic voyage for you all to view on YouTube, download, podcasts, iTunes, whatever. However you access it, however you want to see it, listen to it, download it, stick it on a USB and plug it into your nostrils. However you want to live it, this is the Paradise Paradox. So today I'm interviewing an old wingman of mine, Chris Manak, dating coach, if you could use that word, but also a life coach, a motivational teacher, a social skills expert, I guess you could say. So in this episode, we get into how Manak got into this line of work, what he sees as the major challenges, what his perspective is on self-improvement, on self-help, personal development in general, and some other interesting stuff. So, so I hope you join us. Remember to jump on over to Steemit. So Steemit is a new blogging platform, social media platform, where you can actually get paid for contributing and curating. So jump on over to www.steemit.com and steemit.com/@paradise-paradox. You can find our content on there. Also, the steemit.com/@CHURDTZU. You can find my content there. There's a lot of good stuff on there in general, so I recommend you check it out. And if you do join, then please upvote our posts because that helps us a lot and keep us going with this amazing project. So I hope to see you on Steemit. Let me know, say hi in the comments. We appreciate the comments as much as we do the money that we get from there. So let's get into it. So, do you want to tell us a bit about your business, what you do, and what your goals are, what value you offer?
I don't have goals, and I offer no value. My business
bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's all out box down in South Bank. I use dating and approaching women as a means to grow men emotionally and spiritually, and so I guess, for lack of better terms, I'm a dating coach. But I don't. Yeah, even though I use it, I don't really like the term. I just always saw dating as something, going out to approach and to meet women. I always saw it as something that grew you a lot as a person. It grew me a lot as a person. And I see it with my clients, it grows them a lot. So I always just saw it as something that could grow them. So that's what I do. That's what I do every day of my life. I basically get guys and get them out there, get them approaching, interacting with girls, women, and helping them grow, helping them deal with all their emotional shit that comes up, and have better dates, have better interactions, meet more people, become better socially, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's what I do.
So it's like a kind of I forget what they call it. They call it something like exposure therapy. Like
exposure therapy.
You get exposed to the thing that makes you nervous, maybe gradually or maybe all in one go, and you get over your fears pretty quickly.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And that's why I like what I do, because it's very in your face. You can sit on a couch and talk to someone about your issues, which I think is great. But then when you go out to approach someone or start an interaction, start a conversation with a stranger, all that stuff's going to come up about not being enough, all the stuff from the past, maybe parental stuff, maybe ex stuff, all kind of like emotional insecurity, all that's going to come up. So I really like this because it's a very practical way to go about improving yourself. Yeah. I mean, I got a shit ton out of it. I see my clients growing quite a substantial amount, most of the time positively, sometimes negatively. You know, you got to go through a bit of shit sometimes in order to grow. You got to face those demons when they come up, and sometimes that ain't pleasant. So,
Okay.
mm.
So, you've never had any formal training in psychotherapy or anything
Just
like
the
that?
streets, my friend, just the streets.
Yeah, the street smarts. Well,
Yeah.
you know, that's what counts a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, what kind of transformations, like you do, like a class every week with a student? It's something like that, isn't it? Like a long-term program over some
Yeah,
month.
I usually spend a month with a client.
Hmm.
It depends, you know. So, you know, the smallest thing that I do is just sitting down in a cafe with a guy for a couple of hours over coffee and just digging around in his head. But you know, and then I, you know, do day and night sessions as well, where I take just for a day or a night and just get them interacting. And a lot of the times, that's enough for a guy to kind of, you know, have some stuff come up and deal with that and find some confidence. But ideally, yeah, you want to spend a bit of time with guys and see them a few times in the week to. I just think that you can whip someone up into a frenzy quite easily in a day or in a night. But what happens is if they're then left to their own devices to go and implement it, it's a lot harder. So what I think is better with like a more long-term approach is, you know, you spike them up and then you let them drop. Then you spike them up again, then you let them drop. So yeah, I'm out there almost every day with clients. So.
So you're basically you're kind of training them into this new self-image or this new emotional state, so they can grow into it and learn to do it themselves.
Basically, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so years ago I took an RSD boot camp, and I remember there was this this idea that they taught me of. I think he called it chode snapback. So like he said 3 months. Yeah, some you know, technical psychological term. He said like 3 months after the program, you're going to start to feel like, oh, this isn't me, man. You know, I'm not really the kind of guy who does this. I'm not really the kind of confident guy.
3 months, man, you're going to have that in your first night out. If you're a guy that's grown up quite shy and you've grown up just not really interacting, you know. I was coaching a guy earlier in this week who grew up out in the sticks, you know, out in country Victoria, and yeah, he was sort of saying like it's you know, he's sort of late 20s and stuff now, and he said he still finds it foreign because that's just how he grew up, you know. So a lot of those guys are going to have that resistance the very first night that they're out in a bar. But what I say to those guys is, you know, your brain just wants you to be comfortable. Your brain doesn't want what's best for you. So when your brain is like, this is not me, don't do this, you've got to decide what's for you and not let your brain, you know. I always use the analogy of, you know, an obese person just kind of going into the gym and going, yeah, this isn't really for me, because it's not for you, but you don't want to do you because you's not great, you know. It's not working for you.
Yeah.
So
you got to push past that an initial hurdle, and then
well, I think you've got to decide what you want to be, and then you've got to implement strategies for that, you know, and not succumb always to your emotions, not succumb always to your emotions, I guess.
Yeah.
I literally just went out and you know, this morning, like every other morning, I wake up before I turn on my phone and shit, I meditate and I go out and do some sprints. I never want to do that. I've been doing that for years. I never want to do that, and still every morning I fucking get up and do it.
That's discipline. Well, that's good. But well, sometimes I feel like, let's see, how can I say it? Like if you structure things in your life right, you can make it so you feel more motivated to, or more uncomfortable staying in bed than getting up and doing some exercise or something like that. Not that I've reached that level yet, but
then you just find enlightenment, find nirvana in your bed. I like it.
Yeah.
Get some fucking John and Yoko shit going on. That'd be good.
What?
What John and Yoko shit
They're
particularly?
loving.
Revolution number 9.
They're bedding, whatever it was. What is it like? I think it was early 70s or something. They had their bedding
Yeah,
where they stayed in bed for like weeks. I think it was to protest the Vietnam War. But
yeah,
really, they were
yeah.
just smacked out of their heads. So that's the bit no one talks about.
Yeah, probably had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, we remember it even now, so I guess it worked in some respect.
True.
Drugs for protest.
I'm down.
Cool. So can you tell me how you got started in the game, or how you got started in either personal development or meeting women, or how you got onto that path?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in this now for 11 years. So I'm 35 now. I started when I was 24, and just sorry, just noticed something on my fucking table. Yeah, I mean, I just broke up with a girl, and I realized that I don't know. I just realized that I was pretty shit when it came to, and I was 24 at the time, so I was really in that prime of like wanting to get out and meet girls and do all this sort of stuff. I just realized that I couldn't, and I just realized that I wanted to feel better, and I realized that it was up to me, and I had to stop being a whingy bitch and take things into my own hands. So I just started, and this is 2004, so there was there was not much going around at that stage. There was nothing online. There was fucking no YouTube. There was nothing. So it was just up to me to go out and just start, approaching people and interacting and seeing. My first year, I basically went out and just stood there in bars, just kind of going, just hoping something would happen. And as time went on, I learnt more and more. I pushed myself to do more and more. And by the time I got to Melbourne in 2006, 2007, something like that, I was coaching soon after, because I'd kind of come far enough that people would see it when I was out. People would see that I'd go out and I'd have a good time, and so people just started asking me to take them out. And initially, I declined because it was my hobby. I didn't want to I worked all week, man. I didn't want to have to fucking coach on the weekends. But eventually, I just decided, yeah, why not? And so now I do it every day.
That's awesome. What was your career at that time?
Oh, dude, I've done everything, man. I grew up in hospitality mostly. I lived overseas for a while. I was working in high schools over there. Then when I got to Melbourne, I started as a debt collector. Then I moved more into like insurance financing. And the job that I quit, I was being trained as a manager for a big sort of finance company. And I think I walked out 4 months after starting that. So which they were fucking not happy about at all. But
yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess, if it wasn't for coaching, I'd probably, I don't know where I'd be now, but that was what I've been full-time. This is my 6th year full-time. So I'd probably be high up on that corporate ladder by now.
Do you think a lot of those skills that you learned in all those jobs transferred over to coaching, or?
Yeah, a lot of,
yeah.
Because I do everything in my business myself, literally everything from website to invoicing to literally everything I do myself, much to my own physical demise. But so, yeah, definitely a lot of things that I learn in, the insurance and financing sort of stuff has helped me in business. A lot of the stuff that I learned in hospitality has just helped me interact with people. When I was a waiter for a couple of years when I was in New Zealand, and I just learned very quickly just to take the piss out of the men and flirt with the women, and that would get me more tips. That would get me really good tips. And when I say take the piss out, I'm talking like I worked in a kind of exclusive, quite high up restaurant, so we'd get an older patronage. So you're flirting with 50, 60-year-old women, and you're taking the piss out of the men, so they're loving you and they're just throwing money at you. So yeah, I've picked up things along the way for sure, definitely.
Yeah, That's great. Well, yeah. What you said about just in the beginning, you just went to bars and you just stood there for a while. I guess it's and maybe the lesson there is even if you can't go up and start charming the ladies or something, at least you can go out and do something.
Yeah,
whatever it is,
anything's
however
better than nothing. And you can't keep doing something. Look, one or two things are going to happen. Either you're going to break through or you're going to die in the process. And if you die, it's not like you're going to be around to regret your decision. So eventually it's going to happen. And that's the difference between me and a lot of other guys who kind of started, I guess, doing similar. I just kept at it. I just decided there's not much to really go back to. So this is the only way forth. I had a client say it once. He said something about like, I'm halfway up the mountain. Like I can't go back. I just got to keep going up, So yeah, man, I went out and stood around for years. When I first started learning to meet girls through the day, supermarkets and stuff like that. Yeah, I would go out countless times and not do anything. Come home and just go, oh, fuck it, I'll go and try again in a couple of days. So I kind of I have a very short fuse for people who are very whingy about like, oh, I went out and I tried to talk to one girl and she didn't like me. Like, fuck off. Jesus Christ, man, grow some balls, man up. Like you can't do something once and then complain it didn't work. If that is the case, then you never really wanted it to start,
Yeah.
So I got one number and she didn't text me back. Because you're a whingy bitch. That's why she didn't text me back.
Probably. Yeah. Well, it's about patience. Like, it's not like there's a time limit. If you fail one night, it's not a problem. You got plenty of nights.
Man, you're the rest of your life, man. I've coached guys in their fucking 60s, for Christ's sake.
Wow.
I've coached a lot of guys, in their early 20s as well, but you got the rest of your life to improve and to grow and to get out and to meet people. So what's the rush, So
yeah, just stick to the process and try to have fun.
Yeah, I like that you said process as well, because it's not, even if you did go out and meet someone that was mind-blowing and you wanted to get into a relationship tomorrow, it might not even be a great thing for a lot of new guys, because who they meet, if they start today, who they meet tomorrow versus who they meet in a year, they're going to be a different person in that year, because you're going to grow a lot within that year. And so you're going to be in a much better place in a year's time. You're going to attract much better people. You're going to attract much better situations. You're going to be happier. So that's why I'm a big proponent of get yourself on a path and keep growing, rather than just wanting your outcome right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether it be anything, whether it be girls, whether it be money, whether it be whatever, health, anything.
Mm-hmm. As a counterpoint to that, obviously a man or a person could get a lot of personal growth while single, but I guess on the other side, if they do get into a relationship, they could have a lot of growth there as well.
100%.
But do you think for certain guys and certain times in their life, it's not going to be beneficial for them to do that?
Definitely, because I think a lot of people just don't want to be alone, and it's almost like they haven't learned to deal with themselves, with themselves. It's too early for me. They haven't learned.
Midday, but
Yeah, I know it's midday, but I'm having my morning smoothie, man.
Yeah.
I actually slept for like 9 hours last night, which is ridiculously long for me. That never happens. Yeah, so I think, I've mentioned in seminars before, I've got some friends that are, long-term relationships, and they're bosses. They grow together, they run businesses together. Awesome. But what I do see in those people usually is they've grown before that. So I think what a lot of guys, they don't really want to be with someone because they're complete themselves and they're full and they're happy with their lives and they're happy with their directions. They just want someone to take away the pain. They want someone to make them not feel alone. They want, and it's usually, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not exactly. That's not exactly my area of.
Okay.
That's not my forte. But I do discourage people from, fucking grow. If you want girlfriend, great. If you want to stay out there and meet a bunch of girls, great. Whatever you want, you are worthy of. But make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Like, I actually, to go on the other side of that, I know some guys that are still out going hard playing the field because they've got, some fucked up shit in there, So they're trying to outrun, relationships. And then I know other guys who are just desperately trying to get a girlfriend rather than trying to grow themselves, again, because they're trying to outrun their shit. So, I love getting my hands on these guys because I get to dig around in their head and tweak shit and put them through the emotional roller coaster. I love it.
I guess I do too. Though it doesn't sound.
They usually like me in the end, maybe not through the process. Depends on the guy, though, man. It depends on the guy, Like before, we mentioned we were discussing ayahuasca prior to this, and I think it's the same sort of thing. If you've got a lot of shit that's hidden in you, that's coming out, and that's a good thing. But if you don't, if you've resolved a lot of your stuff, it might be a smoother journey for you. It's the exact same as this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to ask you. You said about you get out there and either you stick with it or you die trying. I guess a lot of people, if they go out to bars, for a lot of men, it can be intimidating because there's a threat that maybe the boyfriend is going to pop up from behind a post and say, "Hey, what's all this then?" Do you think that's
maybe here in Australia?
Yeah. Do you think that's a problem, or that's not really a realistic concern?
Let's put it this way. I probably approach more women than anyone in this country, and I think I've had problems with boyfriends 2-3 times. Literally, I could count it on one hand out of probably 10,000-15,000 approaches. And I think, look, if you're a bit of a fucktard, if you're a bit of a violent guy, if you're an aggressive guy, you're going to attract that. You just will. I'm not that guy. I tend to not attract that. And also, I think so what happens anytime a boyfriend gets involved is a lot of guys, their ego flares up. So they'll approach a girl, the boyfriend will rock up, and they'll still try and maintain this, their ego will be at the forefront. Whereas, myself, if I approach a girl, wherever, supermarket, street, whatever, and the boyfriend rocks up, I'm just like, oh, hey, cool. Hey, man, how are you? Like, I'm very friendly, and I take a step down because I know that he wants to look above me in her eyes, and they're together. So I'm happy to play that role, Even, oh, sorry, dude, I didn't know she was with you. You know what I mean? And so most of the time, guys are just more than happy to. They don't care. They don't mind at all. And I think any kind of any kind of secure relationship, that's usually the case. If they're secure, if they're happy, cool. I walked out of a bar in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, and there was a girl walking out behind me with this big fluffy hair. And I said something like, I mentioned something about her hair. I was like, I love your hair, or something like that. And she's like, yeah. And I went, yeah, come here. And we just hugged. Like, that was it. But we hugged, and then we walked out of the bar, and her boyfriend was out at the front. And this guy cracked it. He just stormed up the street, and she was like, oh, God. And I was like, man, that is not a secure relationship. I didn't even know the girl. We said one thing, we hugged, and, and he's cracked it and stormed up the street. And I was with my client, like, the fuck was that? So look, I don't think there's really ever an issue with boyfriends. I think the one time that comes to mind that where I had an issue, the guy was iced out of his fucking head. Another time I was a dick, and and it was warranted him to be a dick back to me. But they're the only two that I can think of that were problematic. If you're a decent guy, you don't attract nutcases, and you're not one of these fucking look, if a girl's in a relationship, cool. There's no shortage of girls in any city. I'm in Melbourne, man. There's no shortage of other people you can go and talk to. And if you're the guy that wants to kind of win the girl that's got the boyfriend for your own fucking ego, you got issues, man. So just walk away. She's got a boyfriend. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What I found a lot of times is the boyfriend will be like super cool. Like you show respect.
Exactly.
Like, hey man, you got some balls coming up and talking to a girl from nothing, from
Yeah.
you know,
Especially,
cold calling.
especially if you're not a guy that people would assume to be good with girls. Like, you know, if you're a little kind of shorter guy that's kind of shy and, you know, all that, and you're approaching an attractive girl on the street, then yeah, that's definitely going to be the case. And also the guy's probably not going to see you as much of a threat. So
Okay, in that case, yeah, yeah. Well, I remember. So when I first started going out and meeting women, it was in Maitland, and you know the population like 60,000 or whatever.
Maitland in New South,
And
where? New South Wales.
yeah.
Oh shit.
I don't know if I ever mentioned, but yeah, I grew up in Maitland.
Really?
So, yeah. So we're, you know, from the same area.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And what would
Was
happen?
that during the mental hospital times? You surely would have caught that growing up, right? There was a really big institution, a big sort of mental institution
in Maitland.
In Maitland, yeah.
I thought you were making a personal slide about me.
No, of course not.
I don't know.
Just any time I was growing up,
There
you'd meet someone from Maitland, and you know, you'd get to make fun of them because
yeah.
yeah.
Sounds about right. Well, I don't know. There was Morissette was famous for his mental institution.
It was Morissette. Might have been.
Yeah.
Was it Morissette or
But
Maitland?
yeah, well, maybe there was one in Maitland as well. It wouldn't surprise me. But it was kind of weird because there's like this rivalry between Maitland and Cessnock, and they're both kind of shitholes, but each one accuses the other of having two heads and that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. And
anyway, so
you get out of it.
yeah.
I remember I was talking to someone soon after moving to Melbourne, and I said, "Yeah, I'm from Newcastle," and she goes to me, "Oh, you must know how to fight." I was like, "Fucking hell, Newcastle's reputation down here is hilarious. You must know how to fight." That just because I was from Newcastle.
Yeah, but that's kind of what it's like. But I remember somehow like I would go out with my buddy Dan, and we would be like walking around the club and dancing and talking to girls and having a good time, and we were just in such a good mood. But people would notice us because we're kind of, by doing what we were doing, we're making a spectacle. But like I assume guys were like pointing us out, and sometimes the rumor would get back to me like, hey, this guy wanted to beat you up. But I guess whenever they got close to us, they see us there with our huge smiles on our face, and we're like, yeah, man, what's happening? Yeah. And they could never follow through with the guy that was so happy.
Yeah, okay, sure. I've not had that, but it would make sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Press like on YouTube, press like on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Pocket Casts. Follow us on Twitter at BattleAZ and Trouble Bubble, and show your support at donate.theparadiseparadox.com.
So in a lot of guys' minds, there's a stigma about trying to get good with women,
Yep.
or personal development in general.
Oh yeah, huge.
Why do you think that is?
Because we live in an ego-fueled society, and no one wants to, admit they need help. And I also think the industry probably hasn't helped too much. The self-help industry is so fucking wanky. It's so wanky that, if you can dream it, you can do it. This kind of bullshit.
The Secret and...
Yeah, and what really bothers me is there's so much great content in that. Even The Secret, yeah, if you take out the huge cheese factor in The Secret, there's an amazing message in that, One that I learned at 16. I remember reading The Power of Your Subconscious Mind at 16, and I was blown away. It became like my Bible. And The Secret's just that, but it's layered with this fucking, and then I found a scroll. I don't know if that's in there, but it's just dripping with cheese, that it's this big secret or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't think the industry really helps, because it does come with that stigma. It comes with that stigma that you're that kind of, weird, broken person. But getting it with girls, yeah, I mean, a lot of you must be a loser in order to seek out someone like me or something. And the irony is, most of my guys are cooler than most of the people that would assume that. Like, I've coached some fucking cool guys. And that's usually what most of my clients say, because anytime I coach a guy, I get them involved with like my past clients and, friends of mine and all that. And inevitably they say that. They're just like, these guys are really cool guys, not what you would expect of people seeking out the services of someone like me. And yet time after time, year after year, the guys that I coach are really fucking cool guys, of a wide variety of professions. Dude, I've coached literally models, like more than one, like male models. So, and it's not that you have to be completely shit and a complete loser to, get help from someone like me, or even buy a book on the topic or something like that. A lot of people just want a bit of a kick in the ass. They just want a little bit more assistance, because we live in a society that this is not taught. None of this is taught. We just have to figure this out. It's like you turn 16 and it's like you're on your own. So we learn all this shit in school and stuff, but we don't learn a lot of stuff like this that'll actually help us. So we're left kind of bouncing off the edges, and people often assume that if a guy's tall and attractive and confident, then he must just be great with girls. But when you live in a society that is very much like stranger danger, don't talk to people, don't be a fucking creep, don't all that, and that guy wants to get out and, approach that cute girl in the bar, he's going to be riddled with conflict. There's going to be, a lot of shit going on in his head. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good answer, actually. Yeah. So it's this cultural assumption or cultural baggage, I guess, and perhaps a lack of a rite of passage as well.
I've heard that discussed a lot, definitely. Yeah. Like that men don't really know when they're men. A lot of eras throughout history, a lot of places probably still in the world, there's a rite of passage. So, one day you're a boy, one day you're a man. Yeah, and we don't really have that here. It reminds me of the Fight Club quote, I'm a 30-year-old boy. So
yeah, I think a lot of us feel like that.
Dude, I'm 35 and I'm still like, what the fuck am I doing? Successful business, 35, I live in the best city in the country. And still, I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? What? Yeah. See, I love that. You never reach this point of like, I think that's an interesting thing. We're always seeking this completion. We're always seeking a sense of, I'm there. But as soon as you get there, coming, from someone who has reached multiple goals throughout my life, if I just got there, I'd be sorted. And then you get there and it's like your brain finds something else straight away. So it's interesting. We're eternal problem seekers, solvers.
Right. Yeah.
Always.
I guess it's a double-edged sword, because it keeps you motivated, and so it can get you some kind of happiness, like the happiness of the struggle. But on the other hand, it can get you the unhappiness, this dissatisfaction, like I'm never good enough.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I remember a few years ago, maybe like 6 years ago, something like that, being in a place where I would literally have guys looking up to me going, oh my God, your life's fucking amazing, all this. Back in the day when I was, frankly, whoring around a lot and just running amok. But I ended up in therapy after all that, because it reached a point where it ends up quite hollow and quite empty. So yeah, it reached a point where people would basically look at me kind of going, God, if I could just, be like you and get there or whatever. And that's saying, I was really confused, because I'm like, wow, I'm really not happy here. And yeah, it's interesting. I think I went through a breakup soon after that, one of the girls that I was seeing, and it really rattled me. And I remember the psych saying to me, I was like, yeah, dude, because you didn't have, this is many years ago, he was sort of saying, you don't like your job, your family's in Newcastle or not in Melbourne. Your friends seem more like followers. He's like, all you've really got in your life is girls. And now that you've taken a bit of a break from that because you just broke up with this girl and you don't really, you're not going out as much. He's like, what else is there? He'll use the analogy of a house. He's like, there's nothing holding your house up, and it's just come crashing down now. So yeah, it taught me a lot.
Okay. Is that a common problem? Do you meet a lot of guys who get lost in the game? Lost in whatever?
Yeah, but I mean, I think there are people that get lost in everything, every aspect of
Yeah,
life. There are people that get lost. I
yeah,
go to the,
yeah.
I go to the gym sometimes and see dudes with muscles the size of fucking clouds, and you're just kind of like, you might be lost on the path, or you see just rake thin women who are clearly unhealthy and then we're working out at 3 a.m.
Mm,
So I think people get lost in everything, whether it be meeting women, business, health, anything, spirituality, like we are discussing before. Spirituality, a big one. A lot of people get lost in spirituality, I think.
yeah, because yeah, I guess sometimes a lot of the concepts in spirituality are so subtle. If you misunderstand them, it can send you off on this very windy, wavy path in the
Oh,
wrong direction.
I know people that have literally gone, I don't need to do anything now because I've found meditation and that's it. And motherfucker's broke and just not doing anything. But no, meditation has made him the sage on the fucking mountaintop. Like, I'm a huge advocate of meditation. I do it every day, but I think a lot of people get lost in it. That's a substitute for fixing the rest of their lives. I've seen it happen. I've seen people in there. I've seen people go in and come back out, and they're like, "What the fuck was that? Where was I for 2 years?" Yeah, so I just think everything should be holistic. Everything should be all-encompassing. And if it's not, if you ever find something that claims to be the answer to everything, fucking run. Whether it be a book, whether it be a coach, whether it be a program, a substance, anything that claims to be a cure-all for everything, yeah, probably not. Just move away.
Yeah, that's right. So, do you mind saying how you got over that dark period? Was it just through therapy, or was there some other method you used? Or
the first time I was there, coaching helped me a lot because I remember at the start when I said I kind of declined coaching a lot. One of the reasons that got me into it was actually, a therapist back in the day said to me, like, why don't you do more with this? I remember him saying something. He said, you've got nothing with your name on it. And if you look at my business now, Manic Workshops, that's how it started. So I found a purpose outside of running around picking up women. And it was helping other people, as cheesy as that sounds. And just, I liked coaching. I found something that I was passionate about. I found something that I was good at, that had a purpose. And I think that's applies to a lot of people. Finding something that gives you direction, finding something that you can wake up and be excited to work on. Yeah, that helped me a lot. And also, getting into meditation, getting into finding a more holistic life, starting to go to the gym, doing all this sort of stuff, because that helped me. That was several things. Time as well. You just deal with shit. You grow as a person. You just become a stronger person. But I really think it was finding some purpose for my life, and also putting into practice certain daily things that would help me. Meditation, gym, all this sort of stuff. Like, I don't go to the gym to be huge. I don't think it'll ever fucking happen. I go to the gym because it keeps me mentally balanced. I don't meditate every morning to like speak to the divine inside of me. I just do it because it keeps me mentally balanced. If I don't do certain things for like 3 days, I start to dip a bit. I can feel it in myself. Productivity drops. I start to get a bit moody. So finding things to put into practice every day that could help me and keep me balanced, and finding more purpose, I guess.
Okay, all right. Those sound like some good keys to happiness right there.
Well, I hope so. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. So I've seen one or two of your interviews on like the morning show, or I forget what those shows are called, Sunrise or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think the stigma around this around personal development is changing?
Yes, but probably not due to that. They just want stories. I've dealt with enough journalists to know that they're always your friend before the interview, but they just want their fucking story, man. I remember being once on a radio station that'll go unnamed, and it was awesome, lovely people. But I remember before the interview, I was like, just don't refer to me as a pickup artist, please. That's what I said before. And fucking as soon as we went on air, she said it straight away. As soon as we fucking went on air, and I was like, you're lucky I'm a nice person, because we're on air and I can fucking shred your ass right now.
Get the sensational angle in.
Of course, of course. So I do think it's changing, but I think probably more than anything, the internet and YouTube are changing it, because everyone's got a voice now. Everyone's opinion can be out there. I actually think media is kind of dying. You know, old forms of media, it's kind of dying off. The less that we trust it, the more it kind of dies off. And the more it's taken, you know, the more other people's voices are, for better and better and worse, because, you know, you give everyone a platform, you get some amazing opinions and some amazing voices, and you also get some fucking retards. So for better or for worse, yes, media is being replaced, the stigmas are being replaced, and and I think everyone should be, whether you like it or not, you are in some way involved in personal development, because everyone wants to wake up happy. Everyone wants to wake up feeling better. So whether you're doing it consciously or subconsciously, and whatever play, you know, you might be married with 5 kids, you might be in high school. Everyone's kind of involved in personal development.
And that's definitely true in some aspects, but of course people are still, you know, people still can cringe a bit when you use the word self-help or that sort of thing. Do you think people will ever see personal development as cool or mainstream, or, you know, something that everybody's jumping on board with?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Probably not in Australia, because we're, you know, we like to take the piss out of everything. I don't know. I can say safely, probably not in our lifetime.
Right. Yeah. But, you know, I guess the internet speeds up a lot of things. So
it does, man. Look at what we've done in, you know, like I was saying before, I kicked off in early 20s when there was barely internet, man. I remember internet, how old is this going to make me sound? But internet kicked off when I was a late teen. How weird is that? We grew up without phones, man. So, and look at how far we've come in just 20 years. So
it's incredible.
That's going at frightening speed, actually. So
and I think it's only going to get faster. So when, of course, if you mention talking to women or you know, becoming more social to a lot of people, are you still there?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Okay. When you talk about talking to women or becoming more social, to a lot of people, they're going to assume that you're talking about pickup lines. But of course, that's really not what it's about. It's more about principles. So what would you say the principles are? I guess you've already mentioned a few, like having these good habits that keep you in a good state. What are some others?
That's huge. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, actually, I'll tell you. Fuck it, I'll tell you. I don't. You know, client mentioned to me just earlier. Last week. He sort of said he was feeling a bit flat and whatever. And this is a past client of mine who's become a good friend since. And I was like, okay, what have you done for your mind lately? And he, you know, just kind of went, oh. And I was like, I rest my case. Like, you know, you've got to have these things in practice. Because our default as human beings, I think, is to go into negative, because that's what kept us alive. That's what kept us away from the fucking lions or the other tribes. You know, being negative, being cautious, being, you know, that kept us alive. So I think that's our default. So we have to put things into practice if we want to rise above that. But other principles, pickup lines don't work, because a person is always responding to who you are rather than what you're saying. So, you know, you get someone who's quite negative and hasn't really developed themselves much by way of like social value or whatever, and gives them an amazing pickup line. The person's still going to respond to them rather than what they're saying. And on the other hand, you get someone who's happy in himself. I wouldn't even say confident, because I think confidence is overrated. Just someone who's happy. They have a nice, warm vibe. They're not a fucking predator. They're not a vulture. They're not out to try and suck things from people. They're just out to kind of contribute. You know, if I'm out, you know, approaching, if I'm in a bar or whatever, I'm always thinking, I'm happy to talk to anyone, because I'm always thinking, what can I give you as well? You know, you'll see me flirting with the cute girl in the bar, but you'll also see me flirting with, you know, the women in their 50s, just because it's not about me. It's just about what I can, you know, what I can give to people. And if I can make someone sort of smile in a bar, cool, mission accomplished. So I think the principles come down to you as a person. Are you happy in yourself? You don't even have to be happy in your life at the moment. You just have to be happy in the direction that you're going in. Like if you're not taking any steps towards what you want, then you're kind of stagnating. But you know, if you know it's on the horizon, you're not going to be there for a couple of years, but you know you're edging towards it. That's going to, you know, that's that purpose that I was talking about earlier. So I think that's really key. I think analyzing your past and analyzing your beliefs, like how you think. You know, I meet a lot of people who have grown up in really dysfunctional sort of families. They've had crazy upbringings, crazy past, or whatever, and they just deny it. They deny that has any effect on their current thinking, their current behavior, their current life. And I think the more that you deny it and the more that you run away from it, the more it's just going to sit there festering in your subconscious mind. So delve into that shit, you know, get into it, explore the stuff that you haven't wanted to think about, because I think that's the only way you can heal it. And I think a lot of guys that get involved in this think it comes down to like approaching. If I can just approach perfectly, then I'll be great and this will be awesome and I'll get girls and I'll be wonderful. But they don't ever look at any of that shit. So they're kind of like walking around in the desert with a broken compass. They're fucking walking, but they ain't getting anywhere because the compass is broken. It's a lot of weird metaphors going on this morning.
It's good. I'm all for weird metaphors.
Yeah, so I think that's it. Evaluating yourself, just trying to become a good person that you're happy with, trying to get on some kind of life path that you're happy with. And this is outside of, you know, meeting girls as well. This is everything, you know. Like I said, you know, you might be married with 5 kids, you might be in high school. I kind of think the same principles apply. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good. Yeah. Well, I guess if you've kind of if you've kind of got some success in your life, like you've learned some principles of success about determination and discipline.
Self-discipline is huge.
Yep.
I've coached a lot of guys who, sorry to cut you off. I've coached a lot of guys who have been successful in business. They've run successful businesses. Those guys are always easier to coach because it's like they've learned the same principles apply. They've, you know, in business or meeting girls, learning to be confident with girls. The same principles apply. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Persistence, habits in place, correct mentality. So a guy who has run a business, you know, in brackets, successful business, those guys always do better. They're always much, much easier to coach because all they do is apply, they move the same principle. I coached a guy who was a very successful business guy once, and I remember he approached this girl and she just completely blew him off. And he said, it's just like a business deal, next, you know. And I was like, damn, you're getting this very quickly, you know. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, before I really dived into meeting women, one of the things I did was direct sales and knocking on people's doors, and you have to learn a bit of emotional control and resilience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I love learning that resilience, and that's probably the number one thing that I enjoy the most out of coaching, and that's just teaching guys resilience. Like, I don't teach them; they learn it in the process. You know, you learn to be a stronger person, an emotionally stronger person, and deal with life's ups and downs so much better. Just because you went out and approached girls for a few months, it just because a girl tells you, not that she very, very rarely happens that a girl's point blank rude to you, because most girls are lovely and friendly. You know, if a girl tells you to fuck off or something, or she points out what you're sensitive about, like you're a really short guy and she's just like, fuck off, short ass, or something like that. It hits you, and it really hits you. that's you have to deal with that. You have to grow that resilience. And if you can grow resilience in like there, then it just carries over to everyday life so much. So yeah, I love that. That's my favorite thing about what I do is just that guys become stronger. They just deal with life much better. Yeah.
Great. So how can people get into contact with you if they want to?
Oh,
Yep. Okay.
okay.
You packed
No,
up.
I'm kidding. No. Yeah, you can check out my website, which is Manik Workshops, MANIC workshops.com. I'm on Instagram, Chris Manik. So my business is MANIC, but my surname is MANAK. So on Instagram, I'm Chris Manik. On YouTube, I'm Chris Manik. Yeah, you can follow my stuff if you like. Send me a message if you like, or whatever. You know, I'm floating around the internet. I live in Melbourne. I have, you know, people come and say hello on the street sometimes, which is always fucking nice. The fair people are going to go, I love your stuff. I'm like, what stuff? Dude, I've got like 5 videos on YouTube. What stuff are you talking? Yeah, so yeah, that's it, I guess.
Yeah, great. Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks so much. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for encouraging people and offering value to people and giving people an example of how to live an outstanding life, because that's very important.
Cool. Thanks, man, and thanks for doing this podcast.
No worries.
All right, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you learned a little from that, and maybe it changed your perspective on the dating and self-help industry. Hopefully, gave you a little new insight there. So thanks very much to Chris for that interview. And remember to jump on over to Steemit, Steemit.com. It's a new blogging platform where you can get paid to post and paid to curate. So have a look at that, www.steemit.com, and you can check out our posts on there, steemit.com/@paradise-paradox, and my content as well, steemit.com/@CHURDTZU. Links in the description. Have a look. Join the site. There's a lot of great content on there. Have a look, and you can upvote stuff, and it helps us out a lot. So, peace.